quick, guys.
That now it's game time. I'm gonna actually lean the other way, and I'm gonna go Bengals this week. I don't think in a million years the Cowboys are beating the Falcons by 4.5. The only reason why I'm gonna take Denver on this one is because of that half point, and I think Green Bay -6 all day long. One thing I don't like is the Titans by 9. I like the Jaguars all day long to keep it closer. I'm taking the Rams to beat that spread. I'm going to say the competition goes to Phillip Rivers. Give me the Colts. There's no way on this planet the Bears are beating the Giants by 4.5 points. I'm all over the Giants on that one. Pretty much going to give away my pick as it is. The 49ers are only favored 7. Cardinals by 6.5. Take the Cardinals all day long here. But I'm still going to say Baltimore wins this 35 to about 20. I'm taking the Ravens. And I like Seattle -3.5. The fact that New Orleans is favored 6.5 is the only reason I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one.
Welcome to Pound the Rock. And here's your host.
A man's so quick, he's even fast. Asleep.
I've never been a fan of Joe Mixon.
The steel-handed stingray.
The commish himself.
I don't think I'll ever get used to
David Bulletta.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to Pound the Rock. I am your host, the commish, David Paletta. And wow, what a wild and wacky week 2 we had this week. I mean, on top of the fact that if you were to catch on to our week 2 podcast, you would have found out that I hit 13 of 16 spreads this week. If you bet $100 a game, you made $1,000. That's a whopping profit of $1,000 if you bet $100 a game. That's hitting over 81% of point spread games in week 2. I'd like to challenge that against anybody. Going forward in the show, Glenn will be joining us today as always, and we will be giving our week 3 fantasy suggestions and our fantasy picks spread. So hang on to your hats. That'll be coming up a little bit later. But my God, a lot happened in week 2. One thing I want to talk about right away before we get into everything is the injuries. The injuries in week 2 were just asinine, and I mean, let's take a minute here and let's just you know, these young men. And granted, everybody says they make a lot of money. Of course, they make a lot of money, but it's the dreams, it's the hopes that these people, these men have had, and what they've done to get there. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley's out for the year. Christian McCaffrey's out 4 to 6 weeks. Raheem Mostert is out 2 to 4 weeks. Tevin Coleman's out multiple weeks. Cam Akers, rookie, that's again to be determined. I don't think he'll be off too long. He just has a little bit of rib issue. He's young. He should be okay there. Cortland Sutton for the Broncos comes back and plays with a bad shoulder and tears his ACL and MCL. Out for the year. Paris Campbell for the Colts is out. Brashad Perriman, Sterling Shepard, Jimmy Garoppolo, Drew Lock for the Broncos again. And the list goes on and on and on. One thing that I did notice as well was a lot of these injuries happen to be just teams that were on the road, and you know, playing from different stadiums. What that means exactly, I don't know. You know, it was quite an interesting week. Another interesting week was, again, I'm going to elude onto my my predictions of could have waited on tight ends. You know, Darren Waller leads the NFL this week in points in the PPR, and then Gesicki, Higbee, Jonnu Smith, then Travis Kelce. Guess who was 6th overall with 24 fantasy points? Ironically, the whole league is injured, and Jordan Reed gets 24 fantasy points. That doesn't make any sense. Dalton Schultz, who heard of him for Dallas? Mo Ali Cox, Hayden Hurst, there's Noah Fan again. He's quite reliable. Hunter Henry, Seju Uzama. Didn't even play the whole game, and he finished a top 10. You know who's a top 11 with 12.6 fantasy points? Our old buddy Tyler Eifert. Where have you been? But one thing you don't notice is you don't see Zach Ertz up here. You don't see my boy Jared Cook up here. All people high and mighty, or T.J. Hawkinson. But again, the fact that people took tight ends in the first few rounds is baffling to me. Baffling to me. Okay. There was 19 tight ends this week that got 10 points or more in fantasy. And that doesn't include our buddy George Kittle, who happens to be off. Well, I think he'll have a speedy recovery and he'll be back. But again, thank you for joining us. It is Tuesday, September 22nd on Pound the Rock. I am your host, David Paletta, and we will be back, and we will be joined by Glenn. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we will see you shortly. This week's episode of Pound the Rock is brought to you by Larry Plata Remax. Larry Plata, sales representative of Remax Escarpment Realty. If you want to know more about the area and compare houses and costs and listings, please do visit Larry at larryplata.com, where you can see all listings from Hamilton, Burlington area, or follow Larry on his YouTube channel where Larry interacts with local communities. Again, this week's episode of Pound the Rock brought to you by Larry Plata Remax. Welcome back, everybody. This is the commish, David Plata, and welcome back to Pound the Rock. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Lou Rawls himself. Please welcome Glenn G. Welcome to Pound the Rock this week.
Hi, David. Glad to be on Pound the Rock. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Never mind. Well, Glenn, we certainly had an interesting week too, didn't we?
Oh my God, yeah, injuries like crazy.
Well, let's get to the brass tacks here, and we'll talk about let's just run this by everybody as to how you and I did very well on our spreads. You hit 11 out of 16. I had a whopping 13 out of 16. So if you want the real deal, the real betting going forward, everybody pay attention to Pound the Rock. And I told everybody, if you bet $100 a game, you lost 3, you won 13. That's a profit of $1,000.
Nice.
Just because you're listening to this show. Now, another thing I mentioned is the injuries, the implications that injuries have. But one of the main things, what I said is these young men. You know, there's no off season. There was no training. I spoke to my wife. My wife happens to be a physiotherapist, and she flat out said it is so important to have off-season training camps. She said you pretty much do it to recalibrate motor control. You can fall differently. You also recover quickly with it. She says elite athletes need rigorous training. They need fine-tuning. This is just crazy. What's your perspective on this?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that because I think it's like a fine-tuned motor car, like the sports cars. You see, like fine-tuned. The best-tuned sports cars are always in the shop because they always need to be retuned to some degree because they're so perfected. They're so rigid. You know, so athletes the same thing. You know, when you have repetition, like we spoke about before, like getting practice in. There's also like building up that callus, right? So you build up the toughness. You build, you have to get used to falling, like your wife said, and just getting up again and building up this toughness. If you don't go through it, it's like a cold. If you don't build up the resistance, you're never going to be able to fight it. So
you're exactly right. Now, one thing I saw, and I don't know how valid of a point this is, but if you look at the players that were injured, a lot of them were road teams. Case in point, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, all the 49ers. That includes Mostert and Garoppolo and Coleman and what have you.
Yeah, Bosa. Yeah.
Bosa, exactly, and their offensive line. The Broncos.
Drew Lock.
Yeah, Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton were both on the road. The Rams.
Big injuries there.
Cam Akers got hurt. The Rams in Philadelphia, and the Giants. They again Sterling Shepard and Saquon. You know, now I understand that Kyle Shanahan went and said, "Listen, the players didn't quite really think that field was good to play on. They felt it was sticky and their cleats were sticking. That's a major issue, Glenn. That is something that needs to be looked at. And because the funny thing is the 49ers, ironically, go back to MetLife Stadium and play the Giants this week.
Yeah, well, this was their week to get used to it. That's basically it. I guess in the preseason, had they had a chance to play on that kind of surface, they would have been better prepared for what they were getting into. That's one of those things where it comes into play.
No, you are absolutely right. You are 110% right. This again alludes to my point that we do need a preseason. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it. We need
yeah,
2 games, at the very least one, which I still think we need two, because you see what happened in the NFL. Now these, and plus not just that, the NFL, these players, they started training in, I think, May or June in the voluntary mini camps. You don't have to be there, but then you go into the rookie camp, and then you go into, in June, they start the off-season training. So you're talking literally 4 months of training before getting in football shape before kickoff. And this year, they only had one.
yeah, yeah. And typically, you see a lot of the veterans will not play in these preseason games. A lot of times, it's just to avoid the risk of injury.
Yeah,
You-
but
you've
they
heard
but
that
but,
many
but they have
times.
usually they have a good 3 or 4 months or 2 or 3 months of off-season training.
Oh yeah, for sure. Coming into the season, they're well prepared. Like they know what to expect in that sense, right? So there's an element of preparedness there, which comes through the preseason training. It's just helping you to prepare for what's coming. I guess I'm surprised at how many times the season will start and the names sometimes you'll see like on the injured list, guys who are not available week one, but it's just because of an element of having to get ready, as you said, for the season.
And
So,
it even dipped in. You can even see they only had 4 weeks of training, and people were still getting hurt when they went high intensity scrimmages, like Von Miller and Mike Evans. Sorry, not Mike.
Yeah.
Well, Mike Evans for that matter too, and Mike Williams too. That wide receiver out of the Chargers.
yeah, yeah.
They all got hurt. Anyway, we're gonna move on because what's done is done, and then I just really hope these players get looked after. These men and their livelihood and their dreams. I hope it's not shattered due to rushing into a season, because I really do love the NFL, and the NFL brings out a lot of positivity in people. And there's one thing we can use during 2020 COVID-19, Glenn, is we can use some positivity.
Yeah, we're not all Patrick Mahomes.
No, we're not all
So,
Patrick
yeah.
Mahomes.
Yeah, he's about the only person I know who's had a really great 2020 so far.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson too. Wasn't that nice on the opening Thursday game when Deshaun Watson scrambled and he sat beside Mahomes and Mahomes put his arm around him and pat him on the leg? God, that was good. I really enjoyed watching that.
Camaraderie, right? It's like you understand. It's like these guys are there. They're having fun, making a living, and why not? They're enjoying the time of their lives. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
110%. So one thing I want to elude on is here's something interesting. I know it's only 2 weeks, but you can start to gauge a team's prowess after a couple weeks. For example, here's a list of the undefeated teams. There's 11 undefeated teams so far. Okay, so
Okay.
the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Seahawks. Okay, no surprises there, right?
Okay.
There's a slight surprise in the Packers being 2-0, the Rams 2-0, the Bills 2-0, and the Titans 2-0. There's a slight surprise there. But again, I'm not surprised because, again, not too surprised because the Titans, they were in a playoff team, and the Bills have always started strong. But
Yeah.
interesting 2-0 teams, Glenn. The Raiders are 2-0.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are 2-0, and Glenn, the Chicago Bears with Mitchell Trubisky, America's quarterback, is 2-0.
Okay. The other two, the Raiders and the Cards, I could probably see squeezing, but the Chicago one really surprises me.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, you got to also think about the games they played. Like the Bills, when you said about the Bills, I mean, yeah, they're 2-0. Maybe it seems, but they played who? Miami and the Jets?
Yeah, they play the Miami and the Jets. Ironically,
Yeah.
both those teams are 0-0.
Yeah. Kind of hard not to be 2-0. I mean, I hate to say it, they're tougher ways to start the schedule than those two.
And the Bears, and Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears, they kind of Mr. Magoo'd their way into 2-0, okay? Because
Yeah.
Barkley got hurt, and there's no way the Giants are losing that game if Barkley plays full. And literally, the Detroit Lions started celebrating a victory at halftime over the Bears, and they blew it. And I'm sure Trubisky, to that touchdown to Anthony Miller, closed his eyes and threw the ball in there.
Yeah, that was funny. Let's not forget the swift drop too, right?
Oh yeah, in the end zone, right at the end, that poor kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was Detroit's to win. That was Detroit's game. They just handed it to them basically. Here you go.
But again, if there was an offseason, he would have been trained enough to catch that. But
yeah, he would have done enough repetitions.
here's now in terms of 0-2 teams that are winless this year.
Yeah.
Not surprised, Cincinnati, Giants, Detroit, Miami, the Jets. No surprises there, and also no surprises that Carolina is 0-2. Now,
No.
the Broncos are 0-2, but the Broncos right now are probably the best 0-2 team. Let's face it. They start off the year against Tennessee, okay, a playoff Tennessee, and they literally blew that game. And then they played Pittsburgh, and they darn near came back and played Pittsburgh with Jeff Driscoll. So I think Denver's probably the grittiest 0-2 team. But here's my surprises at 0-2. Philadelphia, Minnesota, Houston, and Atlanta. Okay, are all 0-2. Atlanta's 0-2 because Atlanta's beat themselves. Okay, the Falcons would be 2-0 if they played themselves this year.
Yeah, they need defense. They need something happening on there.
Oh,
you got to hold the lead, guys.
Oh,
come on, really?
I just don't understand how they have these games so far ahead and then they just let them go.
Yeah. I think it's like they're reliving the Super Bowl victory, the loss all over again.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. But there was again the plethora of injuries, Glenn, that's happened has definitely definitely tampered the Broncos and Giants this week, as well as in saying that has definitely given the Bears the victory, but. The one thing is that, and I couldn't laugh at this more, I was thinking about it. In our first podcast, we were talking about players not playing due to COVID. They're opting out. And then you and I were talking about, you know what? Let's go get some pads on and go apply to the NFL as replacements. Well, listen, Glenn, it's nothing for nothing, but I'm gonna throw my pads on. Listen, I'll go try to block a field goal.
Oh, really? At the rate they're going, Dave, they may come calling sooner than we'd like them to.
No,
they're going through things.
Just before we go for break, I want to bring up one thing I had an issue with this week was the early games. There was 10 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to apologize to our wonderful listeners, and this podcast is actually picking up a lot more steam than I thought it would. I'm gonna give a heads up. I did my absolute best trying to follow 10 games at once. But
it's tough,
man. Oh man! As much as I love to watch games and highlights and just condensed games on Daz and DAZN, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love watching it live because you can tell the feel, the emotion of the game, which is so important in football.
The flow of the game.
Yeah, right.
The ebb and flow of the game, how sometimes it changes at moments, Sometimes you can feel when teams got momentum. You can feel when they've lost it. You see things happening. You can almost predict how the game's going to end.
And you're 110% right. Okay, Glenn, here's what we're doing. We're going to hammer a quick break. We'll be back.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we're going to review this week 2's game. And then we're going to hit our picks and our spreads after that. Okay, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on Pound the Rock. We will be back in a moment. This week's episode of Pound the Rock is brought to you by Harvest Cannabis Company. Go to their website at www.harvestcannabisco.ca, located at 59 Dalhousie Street in Brantford. Harvest Cannabis Company. Enjoy the harvest. Looking to open doors first week of October. Again, Harvest Cannabis Company. Check their website out at harvestcannabisco.ca. exceed expectations from Todd Gurley.
Give me Buffalo offense all day. Give me the receivers, believe it or not, in Buffalo this week.
Miles Sanders coming back. Start him because he's not exactly too happy about missing the game last week. Fantasy-wise, right off the bat, Cam Newton. See perspective, I like Burrows. I like A.J. Green. I like Tyler Boyd.
Atlanta's going to go that passing team. They just released a three-headed monster last week. We saw where they had three receivers all go over 100 yards.
Welcome back, everybody, to Pound the Rock. I am the commish, David Pletta, and I am always joined by senior voice that I would love to be made of so I can sleep on it like a pillow. Here's Glenn, lowercase g.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, David. Glad to be back on Pound the Rock. Here we go.
Here we go. Now, let's start with the Thursday night game. It was Cincinnati at Cleveland. Now, the Battle of Ohio was always interesting. One thing I will say about this game is it literally looks like Joe Burrow is ready for the NFL. I mean, 316 yards and 3 touchdowns on a road game is impressive. It's not, it's not his fault. His team let 35 points, but again, he was fierce right to the end. A lot of that was garbage time. He did score 14 points in the fourth quarter, but regardless, we're talking fantasy here. Cleveland's running backs, literally, if you both have them, they're both great flex starts, and they're both worth starting. OBJ had a nice bounce back game, 4 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. AJ Green, as much as he didn't show up on the scoreboard, he did have 13 targets. So of the 61 passes that Joe Burrow threw, 13 of them went to went to AJ Green. And Glenn, I'm going to hand this off to you, but what do you think of Tyler Boyd as possibly the new number one there with 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown?
Tyler Boyd, I mean, he's always been kind of like been groomed for the last few years, I feel, to be the number one guy taking over for A.J. Green in Cincinnati. It's just he's got a great connection right now with Joe Burrow. Burrow, as you said, looks ready to play. He looks ready for prime time. It's just his first year. I mean, his team led in 35 points, but his team scored 30 points as well. Mm-hmm. Granted, like you said, 14 points may have come in garbage time, but it's still time which counts towards the game. He still had to make those completions. His timing with Boyd seems to be working. I think as they play more games, they'll get better. And Boyd's going to actually take a jump in his fantasy prominence this year. Maybe may surprise some people.
75 points scored in the Battle of Ohio, Glenn. That's crazy.
That doesn't happen too often.
No.
But the thing is that since he usually covers the spread against Cleveland,
right,
which is good. But this time they decided to light it up. Baker had something to prove, and let's face it, Burrow's out there against one of his competitors in his division, so he wanted to show up and play well as well. So
Burrow's a competitor for sure. Another rough game that teams were beating each other up was the Broncos at the Steelers. Now there is so many ways to go in this game. Drew Lock's injury, Cortland Sutton injury. God, Cortland Sutton had a beautiful 20-yard grab that he just brought the toes in early on. But one thing I wanted to talk about here is Jeff Driscoll. 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. His interception came off of a bobbled pass against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Wow. Yeah. Jeff Driscoll's fantasy prowess, that's definitely something to look out for going forward, because nothing for nothing, he drowned Noah Fant with targets. Granted, Fant had 4 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. And he peppered Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is going to be special in this league. He's just, again, he's still got happy feet. His hands are still made of stone. But going from the Broncos to the Steelers, Big Ben, 311 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a great game. James Conner woke up. And again, we're going to have to talk about his durability. But the wide receivers for Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson, Juju, he didn't do much, but he still had 4 catches. But again, Glenn, my biggest... Claypool, my God, Claypool. Yeah, but nothing for nothing. I'm not blaming referees here. Claypool had a little bit of a push off on that 84-yard touchdown. And like I said about referees, if you're going to call it, you be consistent. You're going to call Gallup against against, oh my God, the Rams in week 1. You're gonna call you got to call it there. You got to be consistent with this officiating. But regardless, that's not the reason why Denver lost. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you as you alluded into this game, well, how do you feel about Jeff Driscoll going forward with the Denver Broncos?
Driscoll was, you know what? He got sacked 8 times in that game, and if you think about it, that's a lot of times for like a guy to commit 6 or 8 times. Sorry,
I'll get that for you now. Yeah. Anyway,
but he was sacked a lot of times without all that pressure. I think being allowed to operate, he did great coming in as a backup. And you're talking about one of the top ranked defenses in the league at home. Just like surprise, surprise. It's like preseason. So he came in, he did great. It's not really a spot start. It's an injury call in. He was ready to play. And
7 sacks in that game.
What's that?
7 sacks in that game from the Steelers.
7 sacks.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And one of them was on lock though, right? So 6 of them, I think, was Driscoll. So that's a lot of pressure, and he still managed to get off 256 yards. Basically, that's he played respectable. I would have total confidence in using him in the 2-quarterback league going forward.
Absolutely, and in saying that, I recall Denver played Cincinnati. I do believe it was. I think it was last year. Jeff Driscoll was playing because Andy Dalton got hurt, and Jeff Driscoll was absolutely efficient in that game. And I'm actually nothing but 256 yards in Pittsburgh in 3 quarters of play and 2 touchdowns. Considering you weren't the starter going in, I'm half respectable to that. But another thing, in terms of a lot of points being scored in a game, Glenn, the Falcons against the Cowboys, 79 points in this game, and 26 of them came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
After 20 of them came in the first quarter from Dallas having 3 turnovers. Like, Prescott and the Cowboys were sloppy early. Okay. Yeah. On the topic of that, Atlanta's defense was sloppy. Dallas's defense was sloppy. And the only thing that was for sure in this game, Glenn, was my boy, who I called it in the offseason, my boy Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons.
Ridley with another outstanding performance for Atlanta, yes. This week, what did he have?
Calvin Ridley had 7.
Was he 7 for 109, 2 touchdowns?
You got it right on.
Okay, so I mean, just he led all receivers in points.
He led
fantasy points.
He's the leader over 2 weeks.
Yeah, the guy is just on a roll, and Julio's still there.
Julio dropped a wide open touchdown right between his arms from Justin Gage through a trick play and went right through Julio's arms. My heart sunk.
Yep, and Russell Gage.
Sorry, not Justin Gage.
Russell Gage. He is, he's in the mix as well.
He needs to be added on fantasy teams as a flex.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have Russell Gage if he's still available in your league, you should probably pick him up real quick.
Do you pick up Dalton Schultz for the Cowboys? Tight end?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Schultz had 8 receptions.
9
receptions. He had 9 receptions last week for 88 yards, 1 touchdown. But even though he had a fumble lost, he still came in, pretty high. Like, as far as the tight ends go, receptions on the week, he was second. Him and Kelsey both had 9. Only Waller finished ahead of them for receptions for the week.
And points.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Because the points in Big D have to go somewhere. Granted, they were playing they come from behind situation. They were throwing the ball a lot. Yep. They probably won't be doing that, but they'll be using those points for Zeke. But, the kid showed he can perform. So, Dak knows if he needs him, he can call on him. And Dallas has always had a soft spot as far as I'm concerned for the tight end.
Throwing the ball a lot. Dak Prescott then runs 3 touchdowns and with Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. Go figure. I take a lot of grief on Ezekiel Elliott, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it was 4 or 5 years ago Zeke was drafted. I didn't like the situation Zeke was going into in Dallas because they had Tony Romo as a quarterback, and Zeke took every handoff in college out of the read option. So
Yeah.
ideally what happens is Romo gets hurt. They put Dak in. Dak's a threat to run. Romo didn't have a chance starting that year after that happened because Dak, and again, 3 read option plays took Dak into the end zone. Case dismissed. Now, next game is a game that I was getting completely laughed at because I took the Packers minus 6.5, and Detroit had a 14-3 lead. And of course, my buddies are going, "Oh yeah, you took Detroit, took the Packers." I says it's the first quarter, and it's also Detroit. And what happens in the end? Aaron Rodgers, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did his part, but Aaron Jones led the team in rushing yards for 168 and 2 TDs, receiving yards for 4 catches, 68 yards and a touchdown. And the Packers went off. Green Bay goes up. The Lions go up early. Doesn't matter because it's the Packers. Now, one thing that people need to look at here is again the injuries bug. Devontae Adams. It doesn't seem to be serious, but the fact that he wasn't there, it didn't matter anyway because the Packers rolled with that one. And Packers are a very dangerous 2-0 team, Glenn.
Yeah. They're the same team as they were last year that went to the conference finals. Aaron Rodgers may be playing even more motivated than he was last year at this time, definitely thinking about what's going ahead. But he's able to get production out of his receivers as well, which has been really good. The ball spreading across. Aaron Jones has just been the delight for fantasy owners. Absolutely. He leads all fantasy. Doesn't he lead all fantasy running backs, I believe, in points this year?
Yeah, so he is. Well, granted, injuries have kind of helped him there, but yeah.
And Devontae Adams. Wow. The receivers played everybody knows Aaron's going to have to go to Devontae Adams, but he's still racking up a lot of fantasy points. Just going crazy here. Just looking at Aaron Jones here. So he's leading. Aaron Jones in week 2 had 18 rush attempts, 168 rushing yards.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's insane. So now, Aaron Rodgers has to feel good about the guys that are stepping up around him to help him, right? But it's just a matter of what do we do coming down to the end of the year? It's going to see who's healthy, how the Green Bay defense is playing, and maybe there's going to be more points to be found on that Packer offense. So, yes, that's stay tuned.
It's funny. It's funny how you can go from the Cowboys and the Falcons scoring 79 points, the Packers in Detroit scoring 63 points, and then you go to the Giants in Chicago scoring a total of 30 points.
Yeah, but that's the Giants in Chicago, and neither one of us were thinking Mitch Trubisky was going to take the league by storm this year, as far as fantasy or anything. And the Giants,
Saquon's down. David Montgomery had led the league in receiving, 3 catches for 45 yards and a TD, and one of those was a 29-yard long touchdown. The Bears scored 17 points in the first half, and then they scored nothing in the second half.
Yeah.
The Giants scored 0 in the first half and scored 13 in the second half, keeping that spread within 4.5 to 4. But it was just an eyesore. I do not feel confident about either of these teams going ahead of, especially the Giants in the first half of the year, and especially the Giants without Saquon, Glenn.
Well, the Giants without Saquon in the first half of the year is like you said, not really a place I'd go looking for a lot of points, any points really. You might get Ingram a few extra throws his way, but he himself has durability issues, and you don't know what's going to happen as far as that. The second half of the season, whoever is playing committee running back in New York, you pointed to the fact that New York's got a softer second half of the schedule.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
So you may be able to score something later on, maybe like a spot-on weak start at a flex position, perhaps.
Now here's a pop quiz for you. Who takes over for Saquon Barkley in the Giants? Now, it's breaking news that Devontae Freeman was signed to the Giants at Eagles last running back. But you've got Devontae Freeman, you've got Wayne Gallman, and then you've got Deion Lewis in that backfield. Yeah. And I'm telling you one thing right now, Deion Lewis is not a between the tackles running back. I feel that this is gonna be Wayne Gallman's job to lose. Freeman's gonna come in and he's gonna play, but Freeman has about as much rushing yards in the NFL this year, Glenn, as I do, because he hasn't been playing. So this is going forward. Who do you think? I understand Freeman's going in. I feel this is going to be Gallman's job to lose.
I think if you're right, and Gallman's going to come in to relieve like he was supposed to do before.
Yep.
Because Gallman was the guy that New York was hoping was going to take over. Then they got Saquon, correct? Am I right on the timing there?
I don't know, to be honest about that.
Okay, because Gallman had come in, Saquon came in. Saquon basically became the man.
Well, absolutely.
Gallman's had to relieve Saquon, and Freeman's there is a nice luxury to have, because on that turf it seems you're going to have quite a few share of injuries. Look what it's I guess no accident that the Niners, all four of them, MetLife Stadium. That's where the Giants play their home games. You've heard talk before about the turf, and then this year, like you said, the lack of preparation for the preseason, all these things adding up. Is in a good position. Freeman, either one of those guys, I got a feeling it's going to happen, that they're all going to end up cycling through.
I've got one space. I've got one space on my roster. Who do I pick up, Gallman or Freeman?
I would, in the immediate, I would get Gallman if I'm going to use him.
I agree with you.
Gallman right off the bat. Gallman's the one who's going to be used first off. Freeman's not going to be really useful to them for a couple of weeks at least.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Weeks, yeah.
Now, I really think that the next MVP of the 2020 MVP could definitely be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings this week, throwing 113 yards and 3 interceptions against the dilapidated Indianapolis Colts defense that just got massacred by Gardner Minshew the week earlier. There was nothing special about this game besides Mo Alley Cox going 5 for 111. I don't know where that came from. Jonathan Taylor went for 101 yards and a touchdown. And, of course, Dalvin Cook got a TD. But my goodness, Kirk Cousins literally is getting probably even more now, guaranteed $1 million a year to throw 3 interceptions.
Yep. That's a great feeling, I bet you. Great job. Or he's probably feeling it, but, the fans, I see there are no fans really in the stands to get on him.
No.
And if you look at the fantasy scores, my God, Nick Mullins finished ahead of Kirk Cousins in one league and a half. That's crazy. Haskins was the next closest guy.
And
but really,
it drives
Kirk
me nuts
because a lot
because
of money for sitting back there.
I've got some investment in Adam Thielen, who last week literally went off. But see, he here's the thing with Cousins, and this is why I don't want people to get too down on him. Kirk Cousins is the kind of quarterback who plays extremely well at home, and then he has games like this on the road. Granted, I don't care if there's fans; it's the travel aspect of things too that a lot of people don't take in consideration. But one thing is that I'm not going to hold. If you've got Cousins and you've got Thielen, don't lose hope. And if you're out there and someone wants to sell Thielen, buy Thielen low. They will come back. But I'm telling you, this game is just baffling to me about Kirk. How Kirk can get paid so much money to only play 8 games a year.
Yeah, well, injuries can do that too to people, right? You get paid a lot of money, then all of a sudden, bang, you're down. And we've seen that. We've seen that before. It doesn't help a team. Nobody wants to sign an injury bug. But Cousins himself, and Thielen, David, you said before, you've said many times, and it's true. It seems to be, they need time. So this is still basically preseason in a sense. Team in the sense. This is the first quarter. We're still basically in the first quarter, technically.
Nothing for nothing. Whenever I'm in doubt as to who's going to win a football game, I look at the quarterback. And Phillip Rivers is a fierce competitor, and I knew he was going to overtake Cousins in that game. And alluding into that, my lock of the week last week, the Los Angeles Rams made very short work over Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And when I bet on the Rams, they were favored. And then come later in the week, the Eagles are favored a point. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that Carson Wentz was running for his life last week, And it also doesn't take a rocket science to see that the Dallas offensive line got eaten alive by Aaron Donald last week. So then you put Aaron Donald against Philadelphia, and are people surprised that they lost by almost 20 points?
No.
Fantasy?
I don't know. Maybe Philly fans.
Yeah, right. Philly fans. No disrespect to Philly fans. Don't get me. Everybody's allowed their favorite team, but
because we're gonna get those there.
talk about a team that's been so loyal to the talk about fans have been so loyal to the team they can't stand each other. Fantasy wise, Jared Goff looked crisp and clean in this game, and he didn't have a lot of pressure. Tyler Higbee just seemed like he was running by himself at times. Caught 3 touchdowns. 5 catches, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns. All 3 touchdowns that Goff threw went to him. Running game situation in there after Akers went down early. Henderson kind of took over because, well, nothing for nothing, but Brown hurt his hand, and so the only guy there was Henderson, and he went off. Now, one thing I'm going to say, and I told people this because I really thought he was ready to play week 1, and I started him everywhere I could in week 2, is my boy Miles Sanders, who fell to me in the 4th round of the Cash League, 95 yards and a touchdown, and he had a few catches and receiving yards, Glenn. But, Glenn, going forward, how do you feel about Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles offense?
Oh boy, in that offense, it's hard to say. It's Sanders, definitely. I would definitely look at both tight ends. And I'm trying to think about the Philly receivers. Right now, they're waiting for Rieger to get healthy. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yeah, I really don't know. What else? They have Deshaun still there. Seems old familiar, but most of that offense in Philly goes through the tight ends and through the running back position, right? That's where you're getting all your production. Sanders, I think, is going to, if he can stay healthy in that offense, is going to be like a gem for you on your lineup. Deshaun's actually not so bad. He had 6 catches last week for 64 yards. But that's probably what you're going to reasonably expect from week to week. The tight ends, Goddard and Wentz, or Ertz, sorry. Goddard,
Ertz,
Ertz, those two combined. What they have there, let me see. So
Ertz
Goddard
didn't have a big day at all. Ertz was slow.
Ertz was 5 for 42.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so he didn't have that great a week.
He didn't even break 10 points.
Yeah, and Zach Ertz was typically the guy which you expect to be locked into a top 4 position for tight end.
Well, again, Goddard. This is what I mean about tight end. People taking Zach Ertz in the top 5 round. Why?
Yeah. You could have waited for the Ertz pick this year. Definitely.
Think about
Goddard himself had 4 receptions, right?
4 tight ends that win the first 5 rounds: Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz, and Andrews. Okay. Besides Kittle, I'm going to give Kittle a pass because he got hurt. Kelsey's the only one that's proven value. Yeah, Andrews had a good game in week 1. Andrews got injured last week. Yeah,
week 2 was a dud.
Yeah. Now, speaking of duds, Buffalo, these next 2 games cost me in a total of about $1,000 in bets because I had them on spread across 6 tickets. The Bills, and hear me, I'm going to bring them up both quickly. The Bills were favored 6 points, and they had that lead with about merely seconds left, or merely a minute left in the game, and they let Miami come down and score. Blew my ticket there and my spread there, and then Carolina, had to keep it within 9. Had kept it within 9. Went for the onside kick, they didn't get it, and then all of a sudden, Tampa Bay decides to go, you know what? We're going to run the ball. Leonard Fournette takes it 46 yards for a touchdown. Both games within the last minute screwed me on 2 tickets. I almost went 15 of 16 this week because of those last little moment plays. Oh,
the burn. I know the feeling. Frustrations happens, though.
The one legit loss I had Kansas City by 10. And San Diego and Herbert, man, we'll get into that. Anyway, getting into the Bills and Dolphins game, impressive game. Nothing for nothing, but over almost 750 yards passing in the game between Josh Allen and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and 6 touchdowns between the 2 of them. Quite impressive. The running game wasn't even relevant in this, but Stephon Diggs, 8 for 150 and a touchdown. Boy, I bet you Minnesota wish they had him now. And then out of the blue, it's about time that with the breakout game of Mike Gesicki. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, he went 8 for 130 and a touchdown. One thing people got to understand is Buffalo's 2 middle linebackers were injured, so heat expectations going forward, but also have expectations for tight ends going forward against that almost Swiss cheese Buffalo defense.
Yeah. That's something to keep in mind whenever you're coming up against Buffalo. If you have a tight end going up against Buffalo, start them. Or look at them, consider a matchup spot start in case you have maybe no tight ends. Get somebody available. So,
I'm still having a tough time understanding how Teddy Bridgewater could throw 367 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And, I mean, what's the deal with Tampa Bay's defense?
You're trying to figure out like where they were going with this.
Yes.
I don't know. Tampa's defense. I thought they were better than this. But at the same time, they're in a high flying division, right? That NFC South. I think every team down there is pretty well just going to expect to be giving up at least 300 or 400 yards a game because you've got to play the Saints twice, you've got to play the Bucs now, led by Brady twice. And then you still have who's the other team down there besides Carolina?
Saints.
The Saints, the Bucs. Why am I drawing a blank here?
I don't know.
Tell me out, folks. Carolina.
Saints, Bucs.
Atlanta,
yeah.
the Falcons. Yeah, Atlanta, the Flying Falcons there, who just scored almost 40 points at a loss.
Yeah.
Almost 40 points at a loss.
The first team in the history of sports since 1933 to score 39 points, no turnovers, and lose.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a statement game.
Completely statement game.
Yeah, so we know the Falcons, great for points on offense. Sign them up. Those guys are going to score every week. As far as their defense goes, their defensive backs will be busy. Busy.
Mike Evans woke up this week, 7 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. I was happy to see that. Christian McCaffrey went down. What are your feelings on Mike Davis as a backup?
Davis is pretty good, suitable backup. He did well. During the time he scored, what did he have there? He came into relief, and he did well.
In his relief of McCaffrey, he only had 1 rushing attempt, but because they were behind, he had 8 catches and 74 yards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I know he didn't have that many rushes, but he had like 8 receptions, and that was the thing I was thinking because the game we were playing, Davis is a very serviceable plug-in. You know, I think absolutely in that offense right now. McCaffrey's down, but the way how they play there, Bridge needs somebody to rely on like that, so he's still going to need to do your outlet passes. He's still getting used to his receivers. Davis is another one of those guys who can kind of come in, plug the ball. He released McCaffrey before, like every now and then in a spell, but there's still familiarity there. So I think they'll have a smooth continuation. You won't get the points you had with McCaffrey, nowhere near the points, but you'll still get a good maybe RB3 production flex.
I think you're going to get borderline RB1 production out of the guy just because of necessity and the fact that in a point per catch league.
Okay, point per catch league.
That's what I mean. Like if it's not point per catch, you know what? You're going to get maybe low end RB2, but because of the point per catch league, you might get high end RB1. High end RB2, low end RB1. Now, Glenn, this next game, how much time do you want to spend on it? Because it's almost depressing talking about the Niners against the Jets. All that talent getting injured, all of that just malcontent production out of the Jets. And again, here's the funniest thing. All the people injured in that game, how ironic was it that Jordan Reed went off?
That's the weird thing. I was looking at that and saying, Jordan Reed, was he he was almost a fixture on your IR list for years.
I have been faithful to Jordan Reed for every year of fantasy, and this is the first year I don't take him, and now look.
I know the feeling, all those times, I got Jordan Reed and I felt good about having him online saying, is this year he's going to be here and he's going to do great and he's not going to get injured. He's going to be he's going to show everybody that, he's almost as good as Gronk or, he's in that category for sure. And then by game 3 or 4, he's down.
Yeah.
And then you look and you're going, you're checking out the stats in week 6 and see Jordan Reed still amongst the leaders in points for tight end amongst the league, but he hasn't played for 3 weeks.
The worst feeling is when Jordan Reed comes back from an injury, you're like, thank God I'm starting him. And then,
And he's out the same game.
and not just that, he's got 2 catches for 20 yards.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then he gets it. Then he goes out. It's like, yeah, he could be feast or famine with him, right? Right now, it's interesting because you point out Kittle might have some tenderness with his injury history. Interesting that you bring Jordan Reed to be his backup.
Yeah, right. Jordan Reed to take over some guys' injuries.
Yeah.
Going forward
Okay.
with this Jets game, you can definitely tell.
I smell an upset.
You can definitely tell that the Jets need Jamison Crowder.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank Gore came in, 21 rushes, 63 yards, and that's not bad.
About 3 yards per carry.
Well, nothing for nothing, but you're also down 21-3 at the half.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's he supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with Gore, I'm thinking, he's going to be your volume running back, substitute back there. I think.
Oh, no
it seems
doubt.
they're just going to keep just feeding him the ball, just keep feeding him the ball. So maybe if you're looking for a flex play on a week, depending
On a
on
bye
the
week,
matchup,
yeah.
Gore might not be bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who in their right mind would have thought that 63 total points would have been scored between the Jaguars and the Titans? Who would have thought
Yeah,
that Jaguars and Titans would have a combined record of 3-1 after 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Who would have thought
Well,
Gardner Minshew has 6 touchdowns and over 600 yards passing in 2 weeks?
Gardner Minshew
Minshew.
is surprised people. He's that's his offense take, right?
Ryan
mean-
Tannehill, 6 touchdowns too this year.
Yeah.
No interceptions.
Tannehill's throwing the ball, I think more than people expected.
Mm-hmm.
But what was it? Everybody was thinking they were going to just hand the ball off to Henry, and how they seemed to get there last year. But he threw the ball quite a bit last year. He's actually doing quite well in terms of not turning the ball over, and I think that was the biggest concern a lot of people had with Tannehill.
Do you know what the most interesting fact is right now about the Tennessee Titans? Is that Tennessee Titans, if I'm not mistaken, Derrick Henry has a total of 193 yards in 2 games, which is really good, but he's carried the ball 56 times.
That's a lot of wear and tear.
Oh
that's
my
that's gonna show.
Lord.
He had a lot of carries last year.
That's
right?
well
So, I
over
mean,
400 carries a season. He can't do that.
No, you can't sustain that for long. Those are the type of guys you look at. You want to think about, maybe selling high on them type of thing, right? It's like, okay, you got Henry in your lineup. It's a keeper league, and you may try to unload him, for get something good back in return. But the reality is, like you said, he's got 56 attempts so far all year. That's over 2 games.
That's 2 games.
That's 2 games. Almost. You're 4 short of 60. So. But 28 carries per game, that's a lot. Even Josh Jacobs, who we know is a bell cow, or even says is a bell cow, he's only had 52 attempts. So he doesn't have as many as Henry. And then the next guy down the list is Zeke with 44.
So it's
a big
fun.
difference.
It's funny we talk about amount of yards because he's got 197 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, this next player has rushing yards, has 167 rushing yards, Glenn, but he's carried the ball 1/4 the amount of times as Derrick Henry has. Who is this player?
160 rushing yards.
167 rushing yards over 2 games, and he's carried the ball 1/4 the times as Derrick Henry.
That I wouldn't know.
That is
Except for
my
maybe Kareem Hunt.
no.
Those
That is
first
my
ones,
league
no.
MVP, Kyler Murray.
Oh, yes. Well, Murray, yeah. Murray's going to be like
He's
probably
win-
MVP this year. Like you
he's
said. You
winning.
made an early call
He's
on
winning
it,
the
but he's playing
MVP.
like it right
I'm
now.
telling you. Okay, they literally handled the Washington Redskins. The Arizona Cardinals handled the Redskins. Murray had 2 rushing touchdowns. Murray has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know how many rushing touchdowns Derrick Henry has? I think he's got maybe. I don't even know if he even has any.
On the year,
Yeah, he has nothing this week, and I don't think he got in the end zone against Denver.
I think on the year he has rushing. He's got 0 touchdowns.
He's got
actually.
0. Kyler Murray
0
also.
touchdowns.
Kyler Murray also has close to 600 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Just saying.
Yeah. You know who's got three. You know who's got 3 touchdowns rushing?
Who?
Jacobs and Aaron Jones. Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones.
On 1 week.
Well, over the year, over the course of the year.
But like I said,
and Christian McCaffrey has 4, but that's McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's McCaffrey. He's on a whole nother level. McCaffrey's still going to finish first in fantasy points, even missing 4 weeks.
Yeah. He's going to be there for a while. This kid's he's phenomenal. So
going forward, the Redskins and Cardinals. The Redskins. I don't want to say they got lucky last week. I just think the Eagles didn't show up to play, but they came into Arizona, and Arizona just simply handled them. And I'm telling you, Arizona is going to be a dangerous team. And like you said, I do believe you said this last week. Nobody's talking about the Arizona Cardinals, Glenn.
No, he's just kind of quietly sitting there, being successful, and they're going to sneak in on some people because of that. And Murray, like you said, the way he's playing, no one's looking at this. I mean, they signed Drake. I mean, not they had a problem with Johnson before, but they signed Drake. They've got Hopkins, and they got Murray. Really, this is his first year with his new team.
Oh, don't forget Larry Fitzgerald, Glenn.
Oh, yeah. Forgot Steady Larry has been there, who's always he was just like a comic, and he was there last time they went to a Super Bowl. So
right?
He knows,
With Kurt Warner.
He can bring these kids along. It's a great little situation they're in there.
And you can't spy Murray for 2 reasons. Number one, someone has to always keep an eye out on Larry doing the short passes, and of course Hopkins. And number 2, you can't spy Murray because Murray throws the ball 38 times a game.
Yeah. He throws a lot. He runs a lot. I mean, he's the all around reason why their offense can work the way it does. I mean, is Kingsbury? Is that the coach there?
Yep, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. He probably looked at that job and said, "Yum, give me that one for sure."
Exactly.
He was being offered that.
Well, he went in and drafted Murray. That's exactly the whole deal.
Yep.
One more
He
takeaway.
won job security.
One more takeaway from that game is I got to hand it to the Redskins for fantasy wise. Terry McLaurin, 7 catches, 125 and a touchdown, and Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson's you know what? He could be a little bit of a breakout player coming out in the rest of the year.
It surprised some people, but then they did let AP go.
Yeah, AP's doing well too.
AP's still productive. He's still running the ball. Maybe not at the level he used to before, but I mean, they felt confident enough to say, "Okay, we're going to let you go with your big contract and everything because we're confident this kid that we drafted." He's looking good, and it looks like he's ready to make the next step for us. That's Riverboat Run.
What is your take on the Ravens and Texans? Because one thing I'm going to tell you is, of course, Lamar. Lamar is just surreal. Gus Edwards, again, that backfield. Gus Edwards, he led them in rushing, but the most productive running back there was my boy Mark Ingram, and then Marquise Brown did okay in that game. But one thing that really bothered me about the Texans game was Will Fuller hurts his hamstring, and he just was a decoy for the rest of the game.
Yeah, what did Fuller have? Like one target, one reception?
He had 0.0 targets.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, I expressed concern about Fuller earlier about drafting him because I've always been like, I've had him on my roster before, and I remember thinking, there's a reason why I didn't draft this guy too often. When he hits for you, Fuller's amazing. Mm-hmm. When he gets you points, he wins you stuff on the week. But there's times when he just disappears for stretches. It's like riding through the desert on your camel. The occasional time you hit an oasis, and then it's nothing but sand for forever. And then there's another oasis.
I just think
Fuller,
I'm not losing hope on Fuller. To me, it's a matchup play. I think Fuller tweaked his hamstring, and then he went out there, but he still played, but he was a decoy because they took Marlon Brown away from anybody else. But again, Baltimore just handled Houston, and Houston is, again, no matter what Houston can do, no matter what Houston's done over the last 2 weeks, they still played Baltimore and Kansas City. That's 2 tough games to start your year off. So I'm not holding my breath on Houston, but let me tell you something. You know who I'm definitely excited about is the LA Chargers this week because they kept it within 3 against Kansas City, and you called that. But Glenn, Justin Herbert, are you kidding me? 22 of 33 at 311 yards and a touchdown. Granted, he had an interception too. But against the starting Super Bowl champions, and you didn't even know you were playing until 30 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
That's
It's
impressive.
a sample size of what the kid can be.
It's
But
impressive.
yeah, it's impressive. I was very impressed, and I was like, wow, this kid's ready. But then I started thinking, hold on, he's ready. He got a spot start. But then again, let's go back now. If the defense had a week to prepare for the kid,
True. No, this is true.
and so you might be facing a different story. As they still say, Tyrod's still the starter there. But I mean, we'll know more in this week coming up. If, for instance, because the Chargers is still talking like Tyrod may be playing this week, right?
Yeah.
So whoever it is the Chargers are playing or prepping for, they have a small sample size to see what Herbert's done.
What if I was to tell you
Based on
that
last week's game.
that Herbert had more touchdown passes and a better completion percentage in the same game than Patrick Mahomes? More touchdown yards, more passing yards.
Yeah. So a lot of people are going to notice that, right?
Yep. I think
Do I want to necessarily tip my hat yet as Anthony Lynn? I mean, just keep everybody guessing because nobody really can see. They can't prep for him if they don't know what he's doing. You saw what happened last week, but that was a Kansas City team that was basically prepared to play Tyrod Taylor.
yes, you're right. He was much different of a player. Granted, Herbert can run too, but I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see.
That changes a lot in your game.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to see Keenan Allen is back with 7 catches for almost 100 yards. Glad to see he's back.
Did you see that? That was great to see.
He's completely the most underrated talent in the NFL. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, and I think Herbert, Keenan makes me like okay. I love Tyrod. I feel bad for Tyrod because it's like he's like the guy. He's like the guy who always gets stuck with the second place ribbon. It's like, you know what, you'll always be second. We're always going to have somebody in our hearts just ahead of you. Even though we put the ring on your finger, there's going to be somebody else in my heart.
Glenn.
That's like Tyrod, right?
Glenn.
It's like, oh.
Don't give away the secret, Glenn.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like Tyrod's like everybody knows he's a good quarterback. He's done his time, but every time he gets a chance to start, boom. So he gets this weird freak chest injury complication before the game. Herbert comes in and just he outplays Mahomes in the same game on the same field
And his
in
first
front of everybody. Yeah, that's not easy.
Okay.
And it's hard to tell people after. The kid's not ready. I don't know. He looked pretty good to me.
No,
They may have lost, but he looked good.
He'll be fine, and he's got a pinpoint arm. Moving forward, another 75-point game, which I was just couldn't take my eyes off the screen, was watching Russell Wilson and Cam Newton battle it out.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
I mean, one of the easiest picks I ever took was Edelman over on 59.5 yards receiving, okay? 8 catches, 179.
Yeah, but did you see who else showed up in the game as well? Cam Newton's got himself two other receivers there, it seems.
Those young kids and N'Keal Harry, who nothing for nothing is young as well. But one thing about New England, and I'm gonna absolutely scratch my head now. Let's just give credit where credit is due. They went out there playing an emotional game.
Yeah.
Because of
the passing of James White's father.
And mother getting in a critical car accident before the game. The father passed and the mother was in critical condition. God, you hate hearing stuff like that. I don't care.
Yeah, but it gets people emotional and ready to play in some ways. Weird.
And they did, but the unfortunate thing was that there's an even bigger emotional standpoint between Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll. Did you know Belichick took over the Patriots 20 years ago?
Yeah, from Carroll.
From Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I know. I remember the whole story.
And Pete Carroll's just still chewing that same gum in his mouth for when Russell threw that interception on the goal line in the Super Bowl against New England.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, and that's why I was like, oh man, that when that play happened in the Super Bowl with Pete Carroll, I was like, oh, you got of all people, seriously.
And then Russell Wilson comes out, 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. My boy Chris Carson has 3 receiving touchdowns this year. Yeah. And one thing is that this game was 35-30, but it was not as close as you think it was because New England's first touchdown, Glenn, came off a bobbled pass by Greg Olsen of all people. picked off a return for a touchdown. Listen, New England had no chance of winning this game. They had no run game. They had Cam Newton. They had no run game.
Cam was all the run game they needed to stay in the game.
To stay in the game. But you take away that interception, then what are you doing?
Then you're looking at a much different result. Even at the end of the game, the way it looks, it's just going to look more like a blowout than a close game, right?
But again, where I'm going with this is you were gifted 7 points. You got to run the clock and control the tempo, or you're going to let Russell go for 288 yards and 5 touchdowns. I'm sorry. Tyler Lockett had a good game. Chris Carson is a stud. Julian Edelman is a stud. That was just a very entertaining game to watch. Another entertaining game to watch closes out this week's matches was New Orleans and the Raiders. I took the Raiders all day long. There's no way in hell a team is losing their debut match in a new Las Vegas stadium. Not happening.
I don't know, dude. It's Monday nights. The Raiders, don't bet against them.
Nope, completely. And I agree.
It's Monday night. The Raiders. It doesn't matter. Don't bet against the Raiders in the spread. Don't do it on Mondays.
Derek Carr, 282 and 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, he was okay. He could have had 100 yards, but he had hurt his ankle late in the game. Darren Waller, good Lord, 12 catches for 103 yards and a touchdown. Now, you want to know a fantasy wife or a fantasy boyfriend, fantasy husband? Alvin Kamara led the team in rushing with 13 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. That in itself is a phenomenal game. Oh, but also throw in the fact that he led them in receiving with 9 catches and 95 yards, too.
Yeah. Somebody has to step in for Thomas, right?
Just an absolute gem that they have there. Anyway, Glenn, that concludes the week that was in week 2. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to go over our picks for week 3 and our suggestions for fantasy. Okay, everybody, come join us on the flip side. We will be right back. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to Pound the Rock. I am your host, the Commish Dave Galetta, always with my buddy Glenn, otherwise known as Lowercase G, and we are here. We are primed and we are ready for our Week 3 fantasy suggestions and our Week 3 fantasy picks. Did I say fantasy picks? I meant spreads. Okay, listen. Let's start Week 3 off with a diabolical game, the Battle of Florida. Miami Dolphins go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are favored by 3. Okay, so Dolphins are going into this game after dropping a complete stinker in Week 1, but they're dropping a complete wonderful game in Week 2 against the rival Bills. One thing that I'm thinking here is, I hate to say this, but you can almost start Fitzpatrick in this game. Now, am I confident with Gesicki? No, I don't like any run game for the Dolphins. I like Fitzpatrick, I like Gesicki, and I like Devontae Parker, possibly. But again, heed your expectations, they're not huge. For the Jaguars, you start Minshew, you start James Robinson. The problem is, for a wide receiver, I'm going to suggest you don't start anything right now because I just don't know. D.D., Jalen Hurd, DJ. The safest bet there is DJ in the flex. Jaguars -3. I like the Jaguars all day long.
Yeah, Jaguars -3 at home against Dolphins. Minshew's playing better. He's making better connections. He's got more. I guess consistency in the backfield with James Robinson. Seems to be picking up the pace. Seems to be doing well for him there in terms of carrying the ball. He seems to be doing well with picking up with Laviska Shenault Jr.
Laviska Shenault.
Yes, there is Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark. Chark and Minshew combined together for success before in fantasy, but somebody may be sleeping there on their rosters. Keelan Cole, who I think is going to sneakily just kind of like lay there below. But I wouldn't touch Cole yet.
Yeah.
I would right now look at Chenault, I look at Chark, I look at Minshew and Robinson.
Nice.
As far as Jacksonville goes. Now Miami's they're another little tender thing. You said about starting Fitzy. You know what? It's early in the year. I wouldn't have a problem with starting Fitzy at all. You know he's going to go out there and he's going to chuck the ball like crazy because that's just what Fitzy does. He just likes to do that. It's been his gunslinger style. So that being said, look for Devontae Parker perhaps, and maybe even Preston Williams to step in. Gesicki, you know what? Jacksonville right now, they give the third most fantasy points to the tight end position in the league. Granted, it's only over 2 week sample. However, I don't know. Gesicki had a great game last week with Fitzpatrick. Maybe to continue the hot streak. Like you said, David, still early in the year. Could be like a preseason result. So I would start Gesicki. I would start Parker, and I would look at Fitzpatrick. And in this case, you know what? I'm sorry to counter you on this one. I think Miami covers the spread this week against Jacksonville.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Houston Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. Steelers -4. This game is extremely intriguing to me because I know the Texans are better than 0-2. They played the Chiefs. They played the Ravens. The one thing is the Steelers have a darn good defensive front line. The Steelers have a darn good defense. It's in Pittsburgh. Now, as much as I am saying, you know what, the Texans are good because I listen, you got to start Deshaun Watson. It's just the way it is. I'm still leaning towards Will Fuller here, and I'm still leaning towards the tight end. Glenn, what's a tight end for Houston? Akins. I'm leaning towards him. I still think that Brandon Cooks is maybe a 3 or 4 catch game. But in terms of Pittsburgh, you start Connor, you start Ben, you start the receivers. I think Pittsburgh -4 all day long.
Okay. Pittsburgh -4 at home against Houston, the Texans. Not the Houston Oilers, the Texans are a completely different story for Pittsburgh to think about. So the Steelers are going to say, who are you guys? I don't see anybody over there that scares me going down the field. I don't see anybody like a DeAndre Hopkins. I just see a Deshaun Watson. He scares me. So, I'm going to use my front guys to contain him and David Johnson. Having said that, that's going to leave opportunities open on the outside for guys like Will Fuller. Like maybe this is what you said this week. He slept last week. I said Fuller disappears on you. Maybe there's a Will Fuller sighting this week, and this week it's in the end zone. I think Fuller goes off this week. He might get himself a touchdown. Johnson, probably I'm going to look at probably about 12 points in fantasy. Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at 22 points in fantasy. I'm thinking about that. He's going to be productive in other ways. He's going to hook up with Akins in the red zone because Akins to him, I think, is more of a red zone relief, and that's where he's going to find some help there.
The closest player to the quarterback is the tight end.
What's that?
I said the closest player to the quarterback is the tight end.
Is the tight end, and that's his relief against that Pittsburgh defense. They're playing at home this week. Like Ben's gonna have a good game. Juju needs to come back in a sense and reestablish himself. I think Deontay Johnson continues his leading the Steelers in terms of the targets and receptions and stuff like that. He'll keep that going. Eric Airbron, he showed up for passes too last week, but I wouldn't get too excited about him. Claypool's probably going to come back down to earth this week as far as that goes. But as long as Connor stays healthy, Snell shouldn't be a problem. However, if you think Connor's going to go out early for an injury, hate to question his durability, look at Benny Snell Jr. But I'd say right now, start Ben, start Juju, start Deontay. And I would probably take a flyer on everybody else.
What do you think of the spread?
They'll cover.
Okay, so we both agree on that one. All right,
Yep.
Los Angeles Rams at the Buffalo Bills. The LA Rams come from a scrappy victory, but a confident victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. And the LA Rams come from a squeaky victory from the Dallas Cowboys. That being said, they still held the Cowboys offense short in week 1. They manhandled the Eagles. The Buffalo Bills come into this game red hot 2-0 as well. Both these teams 2-0. But again, the Bills manhandled the Jets in week 1, and they barely squeaked by the Dolphins in week 2. In saying that, Bills are favored -2. Call an upset special right here. LA Rams over the Bills +2. Fantasy-wise in this game, again, I'm going to heed expectations. towards a lot of people. I'm going to say start Goff. I'm going to say you start Tyler Higbee in this game against that vaunted Bills tight end coverage that gave up all those points to Gesicki last week.
Yeah.
Wide receiver wise for the Rams, you always gotta start with Bobby Trees in at least a flex position, Robert Woods. In saying that, Buffalo wise, how do you not start Josh Allen? Josh Allen is on fire, but I think heed your expectations against Josh Allen this week because he ain't never seen anybody like Aaron Donald. He's still gonna put up points, but they'll probably be garbage time points. Again, which receiver you're starting in Buffalo is up to you. Stephon Diggs has seen the Rams before. But again, I would tread lightly on Buffalo's offense this week. You have to start Allen, that's for sure, because it's just the way it is. If you need a receiver, John Brown was going to. I'd say John Brown is going to give you 4 for 60. Likewise, maybe 5 for 88 from Stephon Diggs. But give me the Rams all day long, plus 2 points.
Yeah. I'm with you as far as the Rams covering the spread and maybe pulling the upset. Good chance of that. I think Josh Allen.
It's an upset because the Bills are favored.
Yeah. So let's say I'm gonna go with the Rams on the spread, but let me get to the fantasy part with Allen running first. I think Allen's been running around all day. Whether he's running around away from Aaron Donald or just running around, he's gonna get a lot of points with his legs this week. Ball's not going to be thrown down the field as much. If it does, I think he may actually throw up an interception or two. So he's got to be careful with that Rams secondary. Ramsey's back there, but those other guys are playing well as well. Sneaky, I think, this team. Diggs is not going to have a big game because of the fact that Allen's been running around so much. You did point out that he does know the Rams, but then again, they know him as well.
Yeah, but they also got, what's that cornerback that's making all that money? God damn. Jalen Ramsey is going to be on Diggs too.
Yeah. So, like I said, shut down corner. Like, forget that. I mean, if I was going to look at anything in Buffalo this week, I would look at the twins out of the backfield there, Moss and Singletary. Maybe I lean a little bit more towards Moss because we have a preference towards them. Then he fumbled the ball a lot less than Singletary. Possibility Buffalo's actually playing from behind against this Rams team. And like you said, you do want to start Bobby Trees. Hey, this is his old team he's playing. Maybe it almost feels good to show up and say, hey, look what you missed out on. They give me all this money over here, and look how good I am. Don't you like these fingers? Don't you like this? Almost got a ring, Buffalo. Almost got a ring. So Goff, Woods, I would look at Higbee, like you said, especially against that vaunted Buffalo defense against the tight end right now. They're like in the top 10, so I would definitely go with that. Leave Malcolm Brown on the bench.
Yeah, I was just about to.
Not a good idea.
I was just about to chime in and say any running back from the Rams right now, I'm not confident in.
Yeah, exactly. This week, don't bother.
Okay, so
not against Bills.
We both like the Rams on that one. Game of the week, my opinion: Las Vegas Raiders against the New England Patriots. Now,
where and when?
It's in New England. It's 1:00. Well, 1:00 Eastern Standard Time. And the spread is 6.5 points New England. In terms of the Raiders in this one, you gotta heed expectations on wide receivers in this game, and you also gotta understand that Bill Belichick is probably gonna take Darren Waller out. So expect a big game out of Josh Jacobs. Expect a big game out of no confidence in anybody else. I think if you got Waller, you can possibly start him. Don't expect it big though. Going towards the Patriots. Wide receiver. Well, again, you slide Edelman in there. You play Cam. You don't play any running backs. I don't believe they believe in handing the ball off. But I will say this: as much as I like the Patriots, and it's funny because they must have heard me talking to myself because they just literally put the spread from 6.5 to the Patriots to 6 for the Patriots. It doesn't matter. I'm taking the Raiders.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Raiders plus 6.
I love it. I love what you're saying, but I'm going to say this. I think it's kind of funny. This is a 6-point game. I was going to actually lead towards Las Vegas covering the spread in this.
Beating the spread.
Yeah. I think it's weird. I don't expect an upset. Not in New England.
No.
But I do expect Belichick. I was thinking he would actually target more so Jacobs and Waller, and maybe try to get his guys to play more in a box and work on that short game. Force Card action, maybe try to take some shots down the field to Ruggs, his rookie, or Renfro, the best route runner he has on the team. But he also has like another rookie receiver out there, Brian Edwards, who's kind of like showed up a little bit last night playing the Saints. But that's a Monday night game for the Raiders, so weird things happen to the Raiders on Monday night. Brian Edwards showed up a little bit, but I think that may be a distraction. Belichick's going to try. My personal feeling, he's just going to simply say, Derek Carr, you try to beat us with your arm going down the field. Because I don't think,
Gruden against Belichick. It's going to be interesting. Who do you like?
Who do I like? I like I said, I like Vegas to cover. As far as fantasy-wise, you know what? I know they're going to be all over Jacobs, but he's going to get volume. So I'm going to pick volume. Jacobs there. I'm still going to take Waller because I think he's going to get his opportunities, even though Belichick's going to have him blanketed and, have his best people on him. I'm sure that's going to harass him all day. And, as far as like New England goes, I look at Cam for sure. Julian's going to get his share points. And, if James White is back this week, carrying a heavy heart, hey, let's plug him in for something here. But N'Keal Harry may come up this week. So look at New England up: Newton, Edelman, Harry, and White.
Chicago Bears at the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons favored 4 points, -4. I know the Falcons' pass defense is just dreadful. I mean, just dreadful. But I have 0.1 confidence in Mitchell Trubisky this week. I don't like anybody from the Bears because Mitchell Trubisky will get you a touchdown, but he'll throw 2 interceptions. I think by default, you need to start David Montgomery considering he's getting passes out of the backfield. That's what I like from the Bears. From the Falcons, you got him, you start him. I think this is going to be an absolute drubbing. I think the Bears are going to get exposed as the worst 0-2 team, and the Falcons are going to get exposed as one of the best. The Bears are going to get exposed as one of the worst 2-0 teams, and the Falcons are going to get shown up for being the best 0-2 team. I'm saying start Ryan, start the Hurst, start Julio, start Ridley, start Gage. Falcons are going to take this wholeheartedly, and it's not even going to be close. Give me the Falcons -4. That, Glenn, right there. I'm 2-0 on locks of the week. Denver was my week 1 lock. The Rams are my week 2 lock. The Falcons are my week 3 lock of the week. Falcons -4.
They're in Atlanta too, right?
They're in Atlanta.
And everything says that they should just walk over these guys.
And very bitter for that Cowboys loss.
Should be bitter for that Cowboys loss. I don't know if I should sit there question the psyche of this team quite yet. They've been in some good games. I mean,
they scored over 70 points.
You could actually, but is it possible that in some weird way they've never? It's still the same coaching staff that lost that Super Bowl game.
Yep.
Okay. Is there something going on with these guys? I mean, they should win. They should win. But this week, you know what, David? I'm going to take Chicago to cover. Okay. Not that I believe in Trubisky, but I believe in the preseason. And right now, we're still in it, as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough.
So anything can happen.
No,
so Chicago's going to cover this spread. I'm going to say, and they're going to give me I'm going to give me in this game, not Trubisky, but Jimmy Graham. Give me Jimmy Graham for fantasy tight end. Believe me, as a plug and play surprise start this week. I would also keep my eye open for Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't know why.
Just a gadget player.
One of those weird. Yeah, just this week as a flex player, Cordarrelle's flex. I want to say Anthony Miller, but I'm not going to. Montgomery, Chicago. Montgomery, yeah. Give me Montgomery as well. Now, of course, the Falcons. Who do I get on the Falcons? Who would I take on the Falcons? The thing is, who don't you take on the Falcons?
Right.
Let's just go.
I don't suggest Gurley.
Yeah, Gurley. Yeah, Gurley had Gurley had like 21 touches last week. Him and Gore tied for like about the fifth most amount of touches.
He didn't catch a lot of passes.
Attempts. No, no catches. But as far as like attempts for running, Gurley had 21 attempts. Him and Gore, and I think he finished only 3 yards behind Gore as far as totals of the week. So Gurley, give me Gurley. I don't know why Chicago. I'm looking at their defense. So Gurley, Ridley, Jones, Hurst, Gage. I forget somebody. Oh yeah, Ryan. You can start with those names in Atlanta if you want.
So-
well, that's it.
So there you hear it, folks. Glenn took the Bears to beat the spread. The next game, Tennessee Titans at the Minnesota Vikings. I am really starting to believe that the Tennessee Titans are definitely holding some value to being 2-0, and the Vikings are definitely holding some value to being 0-2. The Titans have had a rough game against the Broncos. They had a rough game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, of which they were handling themselves well for the first half. But again, they're only favored 2.5 points here. Fantasy-wise, I'm really starting to believe in Tannehill. I'm starting to understand the Vikings defense is not what it used to be. Derrick Henry all day long. As to the receiver, if A.J. Brown is there, you start him. If A.J. Brown's not there, you start Corey Davis. I said start Corey Davis last week. He still caught a touchdown. Jonnu Smith all day long. For the Vikings, I'm not going to recommend anybody but Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. As much as I want to say, you know what I'm going to do, Glenn? I'm going to say it now because I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth here, but I'm going to say you can go in confidently starting Kirk Cousins for 250 and 2 touchdowns this game. But I still think the Titans are going to outman the Vikings, and Titans are going to beat the spread. Are going to, Titans minus 2.5.
Awesome. Titans minus 2.5. I would go with you on this one, buddy. Right. Absolutely. I think the Titans are going to walk into Minnesota and surprise Minnesota. Surprise Minnesota, we're here and beat you up like everybody else has been doing. Like the Packers did. Remember Aaron, old man Aaron, just beat you a couple weeks ago.
Just embarrassed.
Yeah, so they're coming back. Titans are going in. Ryan Tannehill's going to have a good game throwing. Derrick Henry's going to have a half-decent game running. He's not going to have this fantastic 100-yard running game, but he'll probably get about 80, 90 yards running and probably about
40 carries.
Yeah. He did tons of carries. A.J. Brown, I wouldn't worry with. But Jonas Smith, Minnesota doesn't really like to give up a lot of things, but I think Jonas Smith and Adam Humphries, David, he's my little sleeper pick this week.
Oh, good call. That's a good call.
Yeah, I think Humphries going to sneak in for a touchdown. Maybe 2.
Good
Maybe
call.
2 this week.
Good call.
So look at those guys this week there. Now, I'm with you totally on the spread as far as Tennessee. So yeah.
So get your hospital beds and your nurses ready. I don't care about COVID. You're going to need it for this game as the San Francisco 49ers go in to play the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium with the stickiest of fields.
Yeah. The field that claims a lot of legs.
Oh, the field that can break a lot of ankles. So 49ers by 4 points in this game. Again, in this game, I know the Niners are injured, but Glenn, what's a backup for the Niners?
What's his name there? I just had his name on my tip of my tongue. Nick
Mullins.
Mullins, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
The 49ers got Mullins going into this game. He is a capable backup. I understand Kittle may be back, but if Kittle's not back, I think Jordan Reed will be back, playing well.
He's a capable backup.
He's a very capable backup when other people are hurt.
He's a capable starter when he starts.
Well, exactly. And even if Kittle is back, they're going to have 2 tight end formation to weigh off the fact that they're lacking in wide receivers. Hopefully, Mohamed Sanu can show up this game. Running back wise, I don't care who plays in 49ers for the running back. Going to the Giants. Speaking of running backs, who's playing running back for the Giants? Again, the Giants have a decent healthy wise in the line. They have Daniel Jones at quarterback. As much as I like him, he's just not grasping this pressure. The Niners are too strong. I understand they're beat up and they're injured, but I'm still taking the Niners minus 4 in this game, Glenn. In terms of Giants, who to play, oh wow. I don't know who to play for the Giants. I'm not going to lie. I really just don't see anybody going off. I don't see Ingram going off. Sterling Shepard's hurt. Slayton is the only player here due to process of elimination of everybody else. So if you're going to have to start...
Wow.
You'd have
Doesn't
to start...
leave us much to work with.
No, if Gallman starts this game, he's a good sleeper... he's a good sleeper flex pick. But it's just the Niners are just too strong on defense, and the Niners are they're just going to handle business in New York, and the Giants are just way too injured. I'm sorry, they're way too banged up. So give me the Niners going into MetLife Stadium because they were just there. They know what to feel and winning by 4.
Yeah. What was the spread? It's 4 points, right?
-4, yeah, for the Niners.
Yeah. Okay. I think the Giants going to keep it closer than that. I'm gonna say the Giants going to keep it to like a field goal. But I do agree that San Fran's going to win. I think Golden Tate, if anybody would look at in New York,
yep,
to go with Daniel Jones having a little game. Ingram, I mean, I would like Ingram to show up, but I really don't think he will. Gallman's a sleeper pick, like you said. But
if he gets a nod, yeah.
San Fran's got a good defense down low, right? Like those Niners are good up front. The front 7.
Oh no! But I understand Bosa's out, but the Niners still have a formidable defense.
Yeah. So I'm still thinking they're still going to be good up front. So with New York, I'd actually just probably stick with Jones and Tate, and probably avoid the other guys. Against that Niners front, especially because I'm not really sure what San Fran's going to do to adjust. I mean, they just lost 4 of their top guys, so I don't know what they're going to, who they're going to try to, what kind of schemes, kind of packages. But I would definitely say that on offense. Now, if Kittle's back, definitely get Kittle or Reed. I mean, the Giants don't give up a lot of points to the tight end, but in San Fran, they move the ball through the air through using the tight end quite a bit. Like you said, if Sanu shows up, that's great. But how long has Sanu been there? I mean, he showed up in New England last year, did great the first week. He got 8 points, and then I think he just kind of tapped at that for the rest of the season.
I'm only looking for week 3. If Sanu shows up week 3, that's fine. I'll look at the Niners next week.
Right on. Okay, so for this week, then give me McKinnon, give me Kittle, give me Reed.
You got it. Cincinnati Bengals at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles by 5.5. We know the story about the Bengals. The Bengals have lost the last 2 games. They lost a rather close one to the same Charger team that almost beat the Chiefs in overtime, and they lost to the same team, and they lost to the Browns. Well, only by 5 points, but a lot of it was garbage time. But the flip side to that is the Bengals are on the upswing. The Philadelphia Eagles are not on the upswing. They are on the downswing. The Bengals have scored a total of 46 points. That's 23 points a game. Now, I know it's only 2 games. You can say yada, yada, yada. But they still scored 10 more points than this vaunted Philadelphia Eagles team. Now, I think Joe Burrow is the real deal. Joe Burrow is not happy about losing to Cleveland that close. It was Thursday night game, so he has an extra 3 games to prep. I do believe the Eagles are rather sore after getting beat up by Donald and them, and they're still not healthy. The Bengals are hungry to win because Burrow is a competitor. So I think you start Burrow. I think you still have faith in A.J. Green. Slide him down to a flex. Even Tyler Boyd, I have faith in him. I have 0.0 faith in Joe Mixon. I'm telling you, I just don't like him. But it's just the way he is. But this game here could be the game where Joe Mixon turns around because they won't be trailing the Eagles because the Eagles are who they are. Carson Wentz and the Bengals, listen, you can start Carson. He's going to throw to Deshaun. He's going to throw to the tight ends. And you can start Miles Sanders. But I think the Eagles are going to beat themselves. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Burrows. I think that the Eagles are going to be sloppy. But I'm going to tell you, another upset special. Give me the Bengals plus 5.5 over the Eagles.
Oh, nice. I was thinking the same thing. Bengals could upset the Eagles here. I already wrote down Cincy on my sheet, by the way. I didn't even wait for you to finish. I had it wrote down. Like when you started this conversation, I looked at it, Cincinnati and Philadelphia, thinking Wentz is playing the way he is right now. Cincy's playing. We just finished talking about Burrow. We just saw the connection. I saw how Burrow played against Baker on the Thursday night game there. I was impressed with how they were doing. It seemed to look good. So Cincy for sure. As far as players on Cincy, you were mentioning guys before, but there's one guy you didn't get that I thought was pretty cool, and that was me back saying tight ends again, Drew Sample.
Oh, that's
the
right.
new
Drew
kid.
Sample. Forgot about him. Good call.
Yeah, so he's in for Azuma, and Sample actually he got quite a few targets the other day when he played with Burrow. Burrow seems to like throwing to him, so I'm going to say Sample's one guy of Cincinnati. You should probably think about also plug it into your fantasy lineup.
Yeah, there's that whole tight end depth again.
Yeah, but we keep going, and on Philadelphia, well, gee, will you start Ertz, Goddard, two tight ends right there.
Yeah,
Sanders.
I think that it's now going to slowly be, if not already, Goddard's team there at tight end. By the looks of things.
The transition's happening. No matter how you say it, I mean, and then Howie Roseman's probably in agreement too, because Ertz is going to cost a lot more money next year. So let's
I agree.
go on with that one.
Who do you like in the spread there? Cincy, you said, right?
Oh yeah, David. I was all over Cincy.
Okay, so Washington goes to the Cleveland Browns. Browns by 7.
Yeah.
So the Redskins have. I don't mind Haskins. Haskins to me is probably the 20th best quarterback in the league. He's not the worst, but he's still getting there. Terry McLaurin is a point per catch machine, and he's the only option they have there. Now, running game in Washington, Antonio Gibson, I think he's starting to come out on his own. Cleveland Brown wise, the hype is killing this team. It's just always so exciting, and everybody thinks, oh, it's the Browns' year, it's the Browns' year. Well, they're still the Cleveland Browns, and I do have a soft spot to Baker because I think he's better than what Cleveland has produced there. I do like OBJ, and I do like, oh my God, Jarvis Landry. But one thing that's going to be really, really good to this game, and this is why I'm taking the Browns -7, is two names: Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even throw the ball 20 times this game and hand it down and wear down the Washington Redskins. If you need to get in a shootout with the Redskins, it's gonna be dangerous because they got a good pass rush. But look what happened. Yeah. But look what happened last week. Kyler Murray had no problem at all because he ran the ball. They couldn't catch him. There was a well produced offense. I think. Not that I think the Redskins are a bad team. I just think the Browns running game that absolutely wiped out the Bengals last week. I hate to say this. I'm not 100% confident in it, but I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I like the Browns -7.
Ooh, -7.
Yeah.
At home to Washington. We don't know about Washington.
It's the running game for the Browns is too strong.
Yeah, you know what? Give me the Browns. Cleveland, definitely. And then Cleveland here, who would be starting this week? Boy, they got a long list. Let's take the list that you had, right? Baker, Nick, Jarvis, Odell, Kareem, and throw one more name on there, Austin. You want to for this one?
Hooper, eh?
There's a depth of tight end again, but you know what? He may not be a bad play against this Washington defense there. Right now, they give it the most. They give 8. They're like the 8th most fantasy points of the tight end in the league right now. So it's probably not a bad plug-and-play thing in case you're looking for somebody. Maybe you're in a 2 tight end league. He's not a bad play. Washington side, though, I'm only looking at Brady, tight end again, Logan Thomas for Washington. Terry McLaurin, like you said, and maybe even Steven Sims Jr. Just all the receivers up. I'm not even going to look at their running game with Gibson or Barber or McKissick. I just don't think they're going to do much up front this week like that. Haskins, Dwayne may have a decent game because of the fact he's getting points from his receivers in this, but I think he's gonna have more success with Thomas with his tight end. So that's what I'm looking at. Logan Thomas, Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin, and Steven Sims for Washington. We already said Cleveland as far as covering the spread, and I already gave you all my Browns picks. Just added Hooper name to your list. We're good.
Carolina Panthers at the at the LA Chargers. All right, so let's start with Chargers by 6.5. Let's start with the Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater, who is very accurate. He's got a couple 100 yards receivers last week in DJ Moore and what's that skinny kid?
Not Samuel. Is it?
No, no.
Robbie.
Robbie Anderson. He's got that. And DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. He's got a couple 100-yard receivers. They lost McCaffrey, but I think Mike Davis is a decent fill-in play there. San Diego, on the other hand, has played two very strong teams. Now, one thing is the Panthers have come into this game losing to the Oakland Raiders, losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They too also played two very, very tough teams. But the one thing is the Chargers are coming from playing the Bengals in Week 1, which they squeaked by, and they really fought hard against the Chiefs, and again they didn't know about Herbert. Here's the thing: they beat the Bengals by 3 points. Now, the one thing that's funny about Carolina is the Week 1 for the Raiders, they were winning the game within 2 minutes. And against the Buccaneers, they were within 9 points of this. They were within 7 points before that long run by Fournette. So, as much as the Panthers have let me down over the last 2 weeks, this is a tough game because I think the Chargers are going to win. But are the Chargers going to beat the Panthers by a touchdown? They just don't have the firepower with Tyrod in there. And this could be the game where, not Vincent Jackson, good Lord. Keenan Allen just finally goes off because the Panthers have a very, very bad secondary. You know what? Give me the Chargers minus 6.5 because the defense closing down the Panthers is what's going to win that game. And I can just see this is the day where Keenan Allen finally goes off because the Panthers cornerbacks covering wide receivers are just lousy. I'm gonna go Chargers on this one. I hate to say it, but I just think the Chargers are just that good.
Okay. Chargers, what's the spread there?
6.5.
Yeah. I'm gonna call Carolina to keep closer than that.
Yeah.
Carolina, keep closer. And with Carolina, I only got 3 guys in fantasy picks, and one of them is going to be tight end. His name is Ian Thomas.
Oh, really?
I have Thomas here being Bridges' escape route. Like I said, he's going to have to rely more on his other guys there because he doesn't have McCaffrey in the backfield. So I've got Davis, Bridge, and Thomas as my 3 from Carolina.
I think because there's no McCaffrey, that Charger defense is just going to feast.
Yeah, they're just going to be able to bear down and focus, right?
Yeah.
But I think as a response, this may be the only way that Carolina can really respond. So their game plan, and it's going to be head-to-head. So let's see volume here. I got Chargers. I mean, if Herbert starts, definitely Herbert. Eckler and Kelly, the 2 running backs. I'm not really touching Hunter Henry or Mike Williams or Keenan Allen yet. I want to give them one more week before I see what happens with those guys as far as the downfield thing. He looked good last week, but I don't know who's playing this week. So I'm going with Eckler and Kelly, the running backs, and if Herbert starts for sure.
The New York Jets go to the Indianapolis Colts. Okay? The Colts by 10.5.
That's a big spread.
That is a big spread for the Colts who have
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, they handled Minnesota last week, and then the week before they get handled by the Jaguars. So this game here, as much as I think the Jets are bad because the Jets lost week 1 by 10, they lost week 2 to the 49ers, a banged up 49ers by 15. The Jets have no problem losing by a large amount of points. I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you and I'm going to tell the listeners this. The only person I'm going to recommend for the Jets is going to be the only person that's going to justify them beating this spread. And I'm telling you, if Jamison Crowder plays and is healthy in this game, the Colts will not win by 10.5. Okay. And saying fantasy-wise, the Indianapolis Colts, Phillip Rivers is going to give you a mediocre basic day.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor, I think, will do okay.
Yeah.
I didn't say great. He could possibly get you 100 yards and a touchdown again against the Jets. Receiver-wise, T.Y. Hilton doesn't look convincing. Paris Campbell is injured. Michael Bennett Jr. Keep an eye on him.
Michael Bennett Jr. Okay.
Okay, so again, like I said, give me the Jets if Crowder plays. Give me the Colts if he's not playing. But if you needed a decision now, I will lean towards the Jets.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm with you there. 10.5. I'm confident and he can do it. I just don't know which Jets team is going to show up. I know, like you said, they just got beaten up pretty bad the last couple of weeks, right? But this is the week they respond against, what used to be an old rival in their own division a long time ago. Colts and Jets.
Colts got a decent. Colts have a sneaky good defense.
Yeah, they do, and that's the thing though. They're sneaky good defense, but you kind of that first week against Jacksonville was that a little closer than it should have been.
Jacksonville won.
These guys. Yeah, well, yeah. Are they they should win this game, but did they go to see the games that they should win? Because they should have. I thought they should have won the Jacksonville game too.
Yeah, absolutely. They were up a lot, 17 points, I think.
Yeah, so 10.5 points at home. Phil, just don't throw an interception. I'm going to go with the Colts to cover the spread, David. But I got a bad feeling Phil's going to do something to screw that up late. So I'm just going to Colts.
See, Glenn, again, just like what lured me away in that Bronco game is that stinky half a point.
Yeah.
I know. He's
just an interception waiting to happen, though. So that's what scares me. But okay, give me Rivers in this game for the Colts, buddy. Give me Jonathan Taylor in this game for this Colts. I'll even take a little TY action, but I definitely want me some Mo Alley Cox.
Oh, it's on Mo Alley Cox, do you? I figured you'd say at one point you would say one of these days you wanted a little. You just threw Mo Alley in front of it.
You know what? That's a really think about that name. Okay. You know what? Maybe they can bleep out that whole name later when you think about it. Mo Alley Cox. Probably shouldn't say that lad down here. Anyway, so let's just move along here. What I got? The Jets. Who do I got on the Jets? Now, you said there's only one person on the Jets you would even think about. That would be Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, I know you love Frank Gore, so go ahead and say him.
Well, no. I mean, the Jets would probably play him from behind.
Right.
So Frank's game is done because if you can't hand the ball out to Frank, he's not going to do anything for you but block because you're not going to throw it to him, right? You're going to try to throw it to the other running back, whoever that may be. Kalen Ballage, you got from Miami. Yeah. Not confident in that. The Jets, wow, buddy. Aside from Crowder, there's nobody you're really interested in there.
That's it. I just want Crowder. If Crowder plays, and if Crowder doesn't play, I'm taking the Colts in the spread. I'm telling you, the Crowder's going to make a difference. He's not going to make a difference to win, but he's going to make a difference to 2 or 3 points.
Yeah. You know, if you're betting on it, you're going to want to know if Crowder is there or not. So keep that in mind.
Glenn, game of the week, in my opinion. Okay?
Yeah.
Game of the week. Dallas Cowboys go into the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Seattle Seahawks by 5.
Give me the Seahawks, buddy.
Again, in saying this right now, I understand that Dallas came back and beat Atlanta, and I'm not going to say anything bad about their determination to win that football game. But you cannot make mistakes like Dallas did against Atlanta. You can't do that against Seattle.
You'd be buried real quick. They can't count on coming back on Seattle like they did in Atlanta.
And Pete Carroll will, if you're drowning, Pete Carroll will come up to you and put his foot on your neck and push you underwater until 60 minutes have gone. Now, in saying that, Seattle has a god-awful pass defense. They have given up, in the last 2 weeks, 60 points. 60 points the Seahawks have given up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you take that for what it's worth. So, fantasy-wise, usual suspects. Dak, you put in Cooper, Zeke, of course. This is a little sneaky one. Gallup too. But did you see what Julian Edelman did to Seattle out of the slot?
Yeah.
Is CeeDee Lamb the slot receiver for Dallas? Because if he is, CeeDee Lamb is a nice flex position here to play.
I would just start him anyway.
Oh, yeah?
All the boys going downfield for Dallas, with the exception of Schultz, get started. And I say with the exception of Schultz because I don't think we're going to see him as much in this game as we did the last game. But we're definitely seeing those three flyers down the field. And with a lot of Zeke.
Seattle wise, you definitely start Russell. Like honestly, start Russell on your bye weeks.
Yeah.
Chris
sure.
Carson goes in because it seems like Carlos Hyde goes in there to spell Chris Carson. He doesn't look like he ever goes in there to take over for Carson. Chris Carson's also the pass catcher too. You DJ, not DJ Chark.
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf goes in.
Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett goes in. Greg Olsen. I don't see starting him with confidence.
Olsen, not Olsen. Like, I mean, I'm always up the tight end, but not this time.
No, and there's that rookie, and then there's David Moore. I think you can look at David Moore, but I think all hands on deck on Seattle as Seattle takes this game by 5 or more.
Yeah, definitely. Russell's going to have multiple touchdowns to multiple players there.
And you like Seattle, you said, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, Glenn.
Definitely.
Here it comes. Do I have the cojones to do it? Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Denver Broncos. Buccaneers by 6.
Bucks by 6.
Bucks
at Denver?
At Denver.
Give me the Broncos.
Fantasy-wise, Tom Brady
Fantasy-wise.
Can't stand playing in Denver.
I was going to say
he hates it.
You know, they have a winning record against that guy in the playoffs, don't they?
Denver does. Denver has a winning record against Brady, period.
Yep.
The only game that Denver lost against New England, well, not the only one.
New England.
No, they lost in Denver. Matt Castle was a quarterback.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, so...
Oh, he probably didn't have trouble with the air.
Fantasy-wise, give me Brady. Well, you know what? Don't give me Brady. And if you do have to start Brady, expect 180 yards, a touchdown, and interception. That's what. That's all you're going to get. Now,
Winston would have a better game there.
Who?
Jameis Winston would have a better game there.
Yeah, right.
Tampa offense. Yeah.
What are you going to say? Give me Mike Evans for sure.
Okay.
Especially if Chris Godwin can't go, which I think Godwin's going to go. But in terms of running back, can you play Fournette with confidence? Yeah. You can.
Absolutely.
After
last week,
Here's the tricky situation to all this. Denver, Noah Fant, hands down, plays in your offense. Hands down.
Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, Jerry Jeudy is a PPR machine. I could see him getting 6 catches for 66 yards, just 12 points.
Yeah.
Do you play Jeff Driscoll? Do you recommend starting Jeff Driscoll?
No. He's gonna get a lot of production, but I mean, if you want a lot of points, if you want to go over 18, over 20 points, like over 20 points, I don't think so. I mean, I think Driscoll will probably be in that 14 to 18 range as far as like fantasy. Like you're looking at Yahoo numbers. I think Tampa is going to play games just bounce it. He's got Gordon in the backfield too.
That's exactly another point. You played Gordon. Glenn, all day long, take the Broncos plus 6 in this.
Yeah, I'm all over the Broncos in this.
Denver has lost 2 games this year. One to the Titans at a total score of 16-14. They lost to the Steelers at a total score of 26-21. Yeah. This Denver is a scrappy team. Vic Fangio has them fighting. I know they're down Miller. They're at home. They're down Miller. They're down AJ Boye. They're down Locke. Now Locke is not such a big upgrade over
down Sutton.
And down Sutton, and they're down Lindsey. But they have a healthy offensive line. They have their defensive line. Wow, Jarrell Casey and that big chunky guy who blocks the field goals. I'll get his name eventually. They have a strong defensive line, but Jarrell Casey leads. I mean, they are dangerous. And that is why they are keeping these games close. Give me the Broncos +6 all day long.
Yep.
You like Denver too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said so earlier. Because you know what? They're just... Really? Like, yeah. Like, that's yeah. Easy. Sorry. That doesn't sound like a really good explanation, but
no.
Denver at home. I look at these things. They're Raiders on Monday night. Denver at home against a team that's trying to basically get its footing. They're in the third week of preseason. It's Brady. He's old. He's not so used to his receivers yet. They go into Denver. We've not really had a lot of success, so I don't expect a lot from Tampa this week. You know, that's the short of it.
I don't expect a lot from them either. They got lucky against a Carolina team that was literally limping into the field.
Yeah, undermanned.
All right, Glenn.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. The Detroit Lions have actually put up a promising 44 points this year, 22 points a game, and that's saying something. Stafford, they go into Arizona. Stafford's frustrated that they're losing games where he's putting up these points. They get smacked by the Packers last week. I don't think their head coach is going to last too much. But fantasy wise, you have to start Stafford. You have to maybe throw Swift in there again. Galladay. I'm not going to recommend
Jones Jr.
I'm not going to recommend Galladay because if he comes back, it's a hammy.
Patrick Peterson
is another reason. But heat expectations on Detroit. You put Stafford in because he'll find a way. Going to the Cardinals, you start Kyler Murray 110% out of 100.
Yes.
All right? You start D-Hop for sure. And in this game, I'm not even going to suggest Larry or anybody else besides Kyler and Hopkins. And I'm taking Arizona -6 all day long in this game.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's a good pick. Arizona, Detroit there at home. I have to go with you on this one. Arizona's going to cover the spread, win by a touchdown. I'm going to go with their guys. I would say Hopkins. I'd say Drake. I'd say Murray, like you said. Even Larry maybe shows up for a cup of coffee, has a touchdown in there or something. I think Fitzgerald's going to get about 10 points this week on fantasy. Now we're looking at Detroit now.
5 for 50, yeah.
Yeah, now we're looking at Detroit for fantasy. And, I'm going to actually pick Marvin Jones Jr. Because I'll be counting on Peterson being on Galladay.
Right,
and,
exactly. That's a good call.
Yeah, that's the only reason. And then DeAndre Swift, I'm hoping he has a comeback game and says, you know what, this is the time I'm going to step up, and this is a good time to actually kind of like make up for what happened last week. So I'm saying Swift is going to have a little bit of a better game. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Green Bay Packers go to the New Orleans Saints. They go to New Orleans. Now, saying this, the Packers, Glenn, are on fire. You start Rodgers every week going forward. He's back. Now, I do believe that Hopkins. Devontae Adams is going to play this week. So you definitely start Aaron Jones. And on New Orleans, I'm not confident in starting anybody besides my God, I forgot his name again, the running back.
Kamara.
Yeah, start Alvin Kamara. Jared Cook, don't expect more than 10 or 12 points. He might get in the end zone. But New Orleans Saints is favored 3. Glenn, I'm taking the Packers +3 all day long in this game.
You think an upset?
Oh, I know upset.
Okay. All right, cool.
The Saints are just not the same. I thought this was the Super Bowl year for the Saints. I did. They're just not the same.
Oh, it's something you saw last night in the Raider game?
I did.
Yeah, okay. Oh, there you go. That's what I'm thinking, too. It's like, that makes sense.
What do you think fantasy-wise?
Because I remember looking at the Saints last night and saying I was very frustrated with Drew Brees' inability to connect with Emmanuel Sanders, saying this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Saying if these guys can't click, then their season's done right now. That's why I was sitting last night watching the game, thinking to myself, if you don't have a chance to, if you don't have a way to kind of like, fill in some blanks for Michael Thomas being out of the lineup, and you can't make things happen with an experienced receiver like Sanders, then there's something going on here. Because I don't know, Sanders was able to be productive and help in a place like San Francisco where they don't have receivers. He helped in Denver. Denver noticed the difference when he left. I'm sure, like when he left immediately. I'm sure there was probably a little drop in production with the receivers and stuff like that. Sanders he could produce. I just don't know why he wasn't able to. They had like one target last night, one catch. Pretty brutal. So I think.
I don't even think Sanders had a catch yesterday.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
I don't even think Sanders had a catch. The ball hit him right in his hand, and all of a sudden it went right through him.
Yeah, I know. I saw it was hugely disappointing. I thought to myself, well, it could be the preseason thing we talked about. Then it's comforted myself by saying it's only the first quarter.
And I don't think Michael Thomas is playing either.
No, Michael Thomas is not going to be. See, if Thomas misses 3 more games, the Saints might as well write off this season.
Absolutely.
100%. So that's probably what you see is happening now. Question is, who's going to step in the South now?
Oh, come on.
Right? Look who's left. Look who's left. Tampa, who's just got Brady. And then after that, it's Carolina and Atlanta with no defense. Like, that's a wide open division. I thought it was the Saints. That's God's. So, but anyway, right now I'd take Kamara. That's it. Kamara for this week. Wow. For the Saints and for Green Bay. Wow. Okay, Green Bay, you got like a top 5 at least. Green Bay, you have Devontae Adams, you have Aaron Jones, you have Alan Lazard, you have Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, and of course Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, there's just too much. There's too much firepower.
Yeah, for sure. That's what's going to happen this week there.
All right, Glenn, here we go. Monday Night Football. What a game this is, okay? Kansas City Chiefs go to the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens 3.5. There should be no debate that you start Mahomes, you start Tyreek, and you start Lamar Jackson, and you start Mark Andrews if healthy, and you start Marquise Brown. But this is the Super Bowl champions going into the Ravens, going into Baltimore. And this is an extremely tough game to call. Now, everybody thinks, you know what, Baltimore by 3, so take the Chiefs. No, I'm taking the Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to handle the Chiefs. They've handled business the first 2 weeks of the year. The Chiefs have not. Yeah, the Chiefs beat up on the Texans week 1. Boo-hoo. That's what the Ravens did last week.
That was the Texans.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What'd I say?
Yeah, no. You're right. No, that's exactly what you said. But
exactly.
When you said about beating up on teams, they beat up on the Texans.
Yeah, they beat up on the Texans. And the Chiefs squeezed by San Diego last week. Hello?
Yeah.
So this is at home, Monday Night Football. I'm taking the Ravens. I'm sorry. As much as I think that this is going to be probably 44 to... No, maybe not 44. Let's say the Ravens get 38 and the Chiefs get 30. 30 or 31. Either field goals or touchdowns. It depends. But I'm taking the Ravens on this one. Minus 3.5. Who do you like?
I got the Ravens. Ravens for sure. But I've got, for fantasy-wise, Baltimore. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Gus Edwards. Believe it or not, I know he's not the starter.
Yeah.
But I think Edwards probably comes in. Ingram's going to get a touchdown, but I thought Patrick Ricard is probably going to vulture a touchdown.
What, the fullback?
Yeah.
The 310-pound fullback.
Touchdown.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I think he's going to. I don't know if you want a touchdown vulture. I would look at Ricard this week because I know that Baltimore would probably love to do that. KC.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, just like on a personal level, just to stick it to them and say, hey, we're here now, right?
Yeah.
And
I think they're laying claim.
Yeah, they're laying claim, and they're doing it. The way how KC has been over the first 2 weeks, of course, you said you're as impressed with them as I am, which is, they could be doing better. And the only people looking at the KC starting this week are Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Kelsey for sure.
Yeah. So that's it. Other than that, I would say they're gonna meet again in the playoffs. And if anything, that's where the real show is gonna be. For now,
Okay,
it's just like, I'll see you now, but I'll see you later anyway.
So there you have it. We have our picks in and our fantasy suggestions. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to put a nice, happy, big, blush red bow on this program for this week. Thank you for hanging in with us, everybody, and we will be back shortly. Good day and welcome back to Pound the Rock. I am your host, the Commish, David Paletta. Always with me, evermore, quote the Raven, nevermore, is my friend Glenn, lowercase g. We are sitting here going to put this week's program to rest. We appreciate you coming to talk with us. Glenn, as always, it is a pleasure to spend the last couple hours with you.
Likewise, David.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure we are us and the rest of the world are excited to hear our picks after our week 2 extravaganza and success. Anyway, we are going to put a nice red bow on this one and appreciate everybody joining us this week. Thank you very much. Again, Glenn, thank you to you.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here on Pound the Rock.
Oh, thank you everybody for joining us on Pound the Rock. Have a great day and we'll see you next week.